This is the fastest balance patch that Blizzard has ever put through. It's interesting because they came out and said they were like, "Oh yeah, we had an issue with our behind the scenes system that just didn't let us patch fast until season 2." And it's like, sweet, that would have been awesome to know last season when people were like screaming for changes. They could have just been like, hey, this is what's going on, right? It just falls down to communication for me. It's it's so easy. Anyway, let's get to these patch notes. Doomfist, Rocket Punch has been increased back to 4. This is gonna throw a lot of Doom players off. I think the other changes. I think they could have kept the 40 health thing. I don't mind this change for power block, honestly. I mean, I also don't play a lot of Doom, so I'm not the best person to speak on these, but I do know in general that it's gonna potentially dumpster him again, which isn't great because we want all heroes to be viable a majority of the time. Granted, not every map is gonna be awesome for every hero. I'm excited for the Orisa changes as a Zen Orisa main. But we have Terra Surge that now pierces barriers, which wasn't really a major issue unless, you know, your enemy was playing Reinhardt, in which case, like, Orisa is a pretty neutral matchup against, like, all the tanks, right? Like, I don't think she absolutely dumpsters any one particular tank, but she does a really good job of just existing and not getting, like, hard countered by any of them. So I feel like she's in a really good spot. I'm really pumped with the damage fall-off change because as someone who played a lot of Orisa in Overwatch 1 where she didn't have any damage fall off, I like to see changes like this because I'm hitting my shots at range, but they're doing like 1 damage. So we'll be interested. I think she'll be pretty strong. I hope this doesn't lead to like them nerfing this notably. Like, I don't care about this patch at all, the Terra Surge, don't care. Her ult's already pretty like rough. Like, if they were gonna make any substantial changes to it, they could have made it so that the radius of it expands with the percentage. That could have been an option. Her health also, I feel like they shouldn't touch her health during the ultimate because then it just might be like, oh, she's unkillable for 6 seconds. But, you know, she's already kind of pretty strong. So, like, it's whatever. Like, her ult's not the strongest in the game. And you can sometimes get value from it. The Ramattra changes, I think, are super necessary to make him remotely viable. The movement speed... with it, the only drawback, I don't even know if I would call it a drawback, but like one of the things we're gonna see is Lucio Kiriko are still gonna be meta because Ramattra benefits from both of those characters, especially the speed, because like he gets the 20% speed from Nemesis, plus you can have Lucio, plus the Kiriko ult. Those two supports are still gonna be really strong. If anything, I could see them nerfing the duration of Nemesis because 8 seconds is a really long time, and I think if they knocked that down to like 5 or 6, that could compensate for this. But I don't think they drop it. Honestly, I feel like they would just probably drop it down to 6 and call it a day. The armor is huge. He needed that. He didn't feel super tanky. I think the Void Barrier is fine, I guess. Like, his barrier really doesn't accomplish much because there's no, like, just nobody shoots it because we know it's going to go away anyway. So, that's interesting. Sojourn, primary fire spread increased with 28%. Okay. No longer slows. That's good. It's still probably going to be strong anyway, just the damage on it. Cooldown from power slide. Honestly, I think all they should have touched was the railgun itself. Like the right click on it. They should have just made the damage fall off like 10 or 15 meters so that she has to choose whether to power slide out of a fight or power slide closer to her target to then one tap them, right? Like, in general, I don't think one shots are healthy for the game unless there's like high risk, high reward. So if they had made it so that it has substantial damage follow, so you have to be really close to an enemy, it would have been just like Rein charge, right? But the problem is that Rein charge doesn't even one shot every character. It does 225, so there's still characters that survive it. And that is, you know, huge risk, huge reward because his hitbox is even bigger. So that's what I would have done with Sojourn. I don't like this might knock her down another peg, but I still think she's gonna see play as long as Mercy exists with damage boost. Tracer damage reduced from 6 to 5.5. That's fine. Like, the thing that people forget is that this applies to both of her weapons. So you know, she's still gonna be viable, at least. Anna, damage and healing increased from 70 to 75, which is cool because now she'll be able to two-shot a tracer, which is nice. I think this bump is okay. You know, I think this is the bigger... Well, I'd say these are both relatively impactful changes. It's more impactful than the 1 second sleep cooldown reduction from the last patch. Yeah, I think the effect going from 3 to 4 is totally fine now that Kiriko exists in the game. And the 70 to 75, it's nice because you'll actually, like, this is going to break some, like, very minor damage thresholds, but not by much. Invulnerability duration reduced from 1 to 0.85. It's pretty much negligible at this point. The thing I did want to talk about is, like, we've been talking a lot about one-shots in the community. About, like, Sojourn, Widow, Hog are kind of like the notorious 3 for those. I don't think one-shots should exist in the game like those, where you can just, like, you know, kill a character on cooldown, basically. But as long as one-shots exist in the game, I don't have a problem with invulnerability being in the game, like, because that, for a lot of things, is the only potential counter to it, maybe. And you still have to land these abilities, right? Like, this isn't a guaranteed save from everything. But she's still gonna be strong. The thing is, like, Kiriko and Lucio are still just, like, unbelievably strong. I'm surprised we're not seeing any other changes. I think that's my only gripe with these changes, is that I feel like there's not enough characters that are being, like, tuned. I think they mentioned they couldn't do Hog this patch. Womp womp. Big bummer. But we'll see him for the next one. But if that's not until January, like, I guess we'll see how ranked goes. I think we'll see a lot more Ramattra Orisa. Which I'll take every day of the week over playing against Hog. But I'm surprised we didn't see anything for, like, Briggs and, you know, for the other supports. Like, I think they could have used some love. I'm trying to think what other characters. I'm surprised we didn't see another Junker Queen adjustment, especially considering they're like bringing these Doomfist changes right back immediately after. Doom was good for like 1 week. Oh my god. I feel bad for all of the Doom mains right now. I think the thing is, like, Doom doesn't one-shot, but he like now constantly stuns, so it's like you've got to find a happy medium of impact that isn't frustrating to play against. But I haven't felt like he's been as oppressive as Sojourn, so I'm a little surprised by the fact that he's getting 3 things knocked down, but it's also expected because he got 10, what was it, like 10 buffs last patch. So I'll be interested to see what our next patch looks like, because this is just like, it's gonna bring some heroes back into the limelight, which is nice. I don't know what this is gonna do to Sojourn though. Like, I guess because there's more spread on this, she won't be able to charge up on tanks as consistently, but tanks are still pretty big, so it depends on how big this like spread increases. But I'm always happy to see characters like Sojourn getting hit, especially as a support player that feels like I'm just running for my life the whole game. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I'm interested to see what you guys think about these changes. Like, do you think any of these were deserved, unnecessary? What other characters do you think need to get tuned? Because honestly, I feel like there's a lot of characters that could get changes to make them more like viable and engaging and still fun without making them like absolutely broken. Like, that's the other thing, is that I feel like a lot of characters could benefit in the fun like department with just a few minor changes or adjustments to their kit. It wouldn't necessarily make them broken, but it would make them more engaging to play. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I'm liking the quicker turnaround in this patch, and I hope it continues through.